Welcome back to the Tennessee Frugal Craftsman. There is, except for the countertop, a sorting or folding table assembly for my laundry room. I figured what I would do, I didn't set up my camera while I was building it. It's just, it's a long process of actually building it because I was finishing it as I went, putting coats of paint on it, on the pieces individually, and then putting them back together. But I did want to show you kind of what, how this is built. The size of this depends obviously in your laundry room. My dryer and washer are here, and so I allowed about 5'6". I know 5 foot is the standard, but I had my pipe coming in through the sidewall, so the dryer is going to be out away from that end wall some. So I allowed myself lots of space, and then I took the excess that was left, just about 6'1", from the edge of my door over to here, and started laying this out. Now I did this more old school, as I would say. These are not individual boxes like you would buy at a box store or at a cabinet store. These are actually built in, custom. And so what I did is I began by putting the back rail on here, glued it, nailed it into the studding all the way along here. And because this wall back in here is still open, I had already put in the blocking along here, and any blocking I needed I could put in. And so that was very helpful, especially when you're doing custom work. Then pop this out. Then what I did is got my wife picked out laundry baskets. So we have 4 baskets, and so these are going to be basically one for each bedroom. But all they are is they're just on little rails. So these little rails right here are just screwed and glued to the end panels. This one is actually screwed up underneath because I built this section out. I built this whole section here in one piece for my roller trays, my rollers to be even with my style. So I did the 1/4 inch reveal, and I'll just kind of give you a top-down look. 1/4 inch reveal, so I left this out by 1/4 inch, and so these are 2-inch stiles, and so by the time you take off the 3/4, that's about an inch left, so 3/4 plus 1/4. So what I did is down below I just shimmed out a 3/4 inch piece so it was flush with this. Now this top piece right here is actually what I'm going to screw my countertop to. And it also gave me some stability in this end panel, because these end panels on both ends are basically poplar. My material that I cut off the property, some poplar that I glued up, planed down and sanded. And so you can see here, this is what kept them straight. Glued and clamped them and then screwed in through, nailed it. That's what kept that straight. So I began with that back rail and building these 2 end panels. Once I got the end panels on, I also glued up these shorter panels. And this was kind of a work in progress. I changed my mind halfway through. Originally, this was just going to be all the way open with 2 rails for the 2 baskets. But one of my friends said, hey, why don't you just set the basket on the floor, the bottom one, and then you really don't need all that space, right? So I took and I laid this out into 3 drawers, and just take out that middle drawer so you can see what's going on here. So the middle drawer, middle section is actually a box. This is the closest I made to a box cabinet box. And again, these are glued up. This is 24 inches deep, so 23 plus my 23 and a quarter plus my 3/4 face. These, I just made them a little bit higher than what my basket is going to be. Allowed myself, as you can see here, allowed myself about an inch or so, you know, to get thumbs in and stuff when you're pulling. But they'll slide, you know, they'll slide back in there all the way if you want them back out of the way. And so these here, I made those at the finish height where the basket is, plus whatever height you want above the basket. So for me, it was about 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches from that rail up to the top of this. Then I glued up some more poplar, made a panel on the for the top, screwed it in through. That's what kept those end panels straight. And then down on the bottom, what I did is when I put these 2-inch rails on, now on these I kept the rails flush. That way I could put my put these tracks right here. Sorry, I had a brain cramp. Put the tracks on and I screwed them in from behind and then filled the nail heads and painted everything. So this track or this edge is flush with the edge, so it's not sticking out by, so it's not going to be catching on when you pull these in and out, pull the baskets in and out. So that means that this is in 1.25 inches. So when I put these on, with 1.25 inches, I got a 3/4 back panel, so this allowed for an inch piece down here. And what I did is I put that all the way back to my baseboard, and I just notched this panel out around my baseboard and drilled down through in a grout line with my cement bit and just drill or just put a wood screw down into the subfloor. So that's what held this into place. This is just setting in here, and the reason that is setting in there because I've got an access panel back there that is actually my shutoffs for all the water going up to the upstairs. So just a couple screws holding that in. That'll pop off. Oh, let's get this back in. Sorry, get this refocused. Take that screw out, and that slides into this cabinet here, and I can access those. So that's the only section that's a box. And back in. The end panel is basically the same as the other end. Again, these are just glued and nailed or screwed into this panel, this end here. Attached them down through the floor, each one there and one there. Did the same thing as what I did here. This one I put 2 in, one there and one more in the back. This one I just put in 1 because I actually cut the baseboard to the end panel. So the baseboard is holding that bottom of that back part in place. I mean, those baseboards will never come off, so this unit becomes, you know, solid in that regard because they can't move it back and forth at the back. Now, when I got to the point of putting in my drawers, what I did is I put a secondary back rail, roughly the height, a little bit longer than this here. These panels, I just, whatever the thickness on my drawer was going to be, so these are about a 4 3/4 inch opening at the front. And so I wanted a nice solid panel to ride, for this rail to ride on, the drawer slides. And so I took a piece of poplar, about 9 1/4 inches, put 2 pieces together, glued it, screwed it, I guess I nailed it, and then cut it right to the length of my boxes down below. So or sorry, well, I guess I lined this up. Sorry, this is what I lined up. I divided this into 3 equal distance sections. So this is actually setting on, I guess there was a step I left out. Let me show you. I put in about a 4-inch flat rail, and I put a little cleat down in below it, glued it before I painted everything, and nailed and screwed that, so it's the distance from that rail over to that far rail. And what I did is, that's what I used to hold all of these pieces in the front. And of course, this one, I don't know if this is a little confusing for you. But this one actually screwed right down into this box. And so this box is the height, the exact height I wanted my drawer frame, minus the 3/4 inch thickness. So this gave the front stability all the way across. And it also gave me something to set these uprights for the rails here for the drawer slides. So once I put those on, I just put a little cleat in between this and the top rail. This is only 2 inch, or sorry, 1.5 inch, running the full distance, nailed into these top corners on each side, glued and nailed in here. And so now when these drawers go in on those rails, I made it so the bottom of the drawers are flush with the bottom of this, so this doesn't get caught. So when you're pulling this out, you don't see this rail here. So that whole rail is being hidden by my drawer front. Now the drawers themselves, so we're going to get these put back in. The drawers themselves are actually made out of poplar. Planed down some of my thinner poplar to about 5/8 of an inch. And then I just used some cheap 1/4 inch plywood I got from Lowe's. I think it was like $30 a sheet. And I varnished the inside of these. I figured they'd be a lot easier to keep clean than having them white. Paint would get dirtied real quickly. And in that case, what I did is I just, on the corners, very simple, I just glued and brad nailed this as a box before I put the face on, and made the front panel about 1/4 of an inch higher, because these are rounded, so instead of trying to match the rounds, I just made this about 1/4 of an inch higher, and I made the back rail 1/4 of an inch lower. And so the side rails remain consistent. And the side rails are the full length, in this case 22 inches. Glued and nailed into each end. And then I varnished everything, and then I came in this morning and I screwed in my front panels, my drawer fronts. So that, with the countertop on one of these, when I do the final video of this room, of the laundry room, I'll have the butcher block on. That's in another video coming. Matter of fact, I might put the butcher block portion of the video in here at the end so you can see what it looks like. I just don't want to mount it until I'm all done, finished painting and whatnot. So that is the sorting table, or the folding table. And of course, in my last video, if you didn't see it, these were the cabinets that I built over for storage each side of my main door going out on the deck. And on this secondary one, I actually got it for, hanging things. And so you're folding things, you're taking something out of the laundry that needs to be hung up, just step over here, hang it up until it gets to its place where it's going to live in the closet. So hopefully that made sense. Like I said, sorry I didn't videotape it. It took me several days to working at several things at once, and so this was kind of piecemeal. And so I didn't take the time to videotape it. It would literally been hours of videotape. And so I figured I would build it and then explain it. Now, if you have any questions about any aspect of this, please feel free to put it in the comments, and I will respond as quickly as possible. But everything is made, in this case, made out of poplar, with the exception of the back rails, which is pine. But this is all stuff off my property, so all of these drawer fronts are poplar, and all the panels are glued up poplar and whatnot. So it's a lot more stable than pine. So that is the finished product, with the exception of the countertop. So appreciate you joining me. If you would, please like and subscribe. Lots of interesting things coming your way as I start doing the finish work. It's kind of my expertise. And so if you would, please like and subscribe. Until the next time, as always, you have a great day.